Impact evaluation can be expensive, especially for civil society organizations that do not have time or resources to allocate to this important task. We strongly suggest to embed roughly 5 to 10% of a budget to conduct rigorous program evaluations. These funds can be used, for example, to hire an external evaluator with no conflict of interest, to conduct and design, since the very beginning, all the activities that will allow to assess the impact of a program. There is a vast literature about evaluations, and it's easy to find many different categories and types of evaluations and get a bit lost in understanding the differences between them. Many people talk about economic evaluations, mechanism evaluation, program evaluation, monitoring and evaluation, M&E. So what are we talking about, and what are the really important different types of evaluations that can be conducted? Well, we propose a very simple distinction between two broad types of evaluations: impact evaluations and process evaluations. Process evaluations are about assessing whether a program is completed as planned. So if resources are efficiently used, if it's conducted within the budget, and if the quality of the activities is consistent. Impact evaluation is about assessing whether the program is achieving change, and if the change is happening as planned. Both impact and process evaluations are very useful. However, in my experience, I have seen many service providers and community organizations preferring to conduct process evaluations than impact evaluations. Process evaluations are less threatening and easier to conduct. Well, first, all the data comes from within the organization, so they don't have to collect additional data among the target population. And secondly, they are less threatening because they're not telling really if the program works or doesn't work. They're just telling if it's conducted efficiently. Additionally, some experts and scholars resist the idea of conducting impact evaluations in the counter-violent extremism field. They say that impact evaluations are very hard and sometimes impossible in their view to conduct, because an impact evaluation would entail providing a negative, which is the absence of violent extremism and hatred, which is supposedly not measurable. Also, others say that, for example, the lack of clarity in the definitions of terms like extremism, disengagement, rehabilitation, makes the operationalization of these concepts very difficult, and therefore they are not possible to measure. Also, they say that there is a too high risk of social desirability bias in surveys, so people cannot be trusted when asked the question in relation to the evaluation of programs. Also, some scholars say that there are too many variables that can affect the outcome of a intervention program in the field of hatred and violent extremism. So it's impossible to understand whether the change in the target population happened because of the program or because of something else. These are very important and legitimate concerns. However, most of these problems can be solved. It is useful to think that these difficulties experienced by evaluators in the field of countering violent extremism and tackling hate are not very different from the ones in other social programs. For example, prevention programs that aim at reducing risky behaviors among stigmatized communities. For example, gang violence, alcoholism, obesity, family violence. The fact that it is possible to raise the quality of evaluations in the field of countering violent extremism is demonstrated by systematic reviews, that looked at the differences between evaluations in the field of countering violent extremism and evaluations in related fields, like the reduction of gang violence. So Van Hemert and colleagues in 2014 reviewed all publicly available evaluations of CVE and gang violence programs globally. They found that in the CVE field, only 3% of evaluations had an experimental or quasi-experimental design, that is the use of comparison and control groups. Comparatively, in the field of gang prevention, 60% of the impact evaluations included some sort of control or comparison group. This finding suggests that there is actually room for improving the quality of impact evaluations in the counter-violent extremism field. There are many empirical evaluations that can be used by evaluators in the counter-violent extremism field as gold standards to think about planning and designing impact evaluations. Check them out and try to see if it's possible to replicate their methods and their design in your context.